Welcome back to another episode of 8158 Podcast Stories of Sacrifice. Today is September 11th, a date forever etched in our nation's history. 24 years ago, America faced unimaginable tragedy. But in the midst of darkness, we also witnessed extraordinary courage. First responders running towards danger, strangers helping strangers, families holding each other tighter. Before we go any further, I'd like to pause for a moment of silence. Wherever you are right now, whether you're driving, at home, or at work, take these few seconds with us to remember the lives lost and the heroes who answered the call. This podcast and the William H. Bill Butler Jr. Foundation were both created with one mission: to honor sacrifice, to tell the stories that need to be remembered, and to make sure the families of first responders and veterans know that they are not forgotten. 9/11 reminds us why the mission is so critical. The firefighters, law enforcement officers, paramedics, and everyday civilians who risked or gave their lives that day, that embodied the spirit of service and sacrifice. And the ripple effect still continues. Families still grieving, first responders still battling health challenges from ground zero, and the community still holding on to the lessons of unity. If there's one lesson from 9/11 that we must never lose, it is this. In times of tragedy, Americans show up. In days and weeks after the attacks, we weren't Democrats or Republicans, city dwellers or rural neighbors. We were simply Americans. And I must reiterate, Americans. We prayed together, we cried together, we rebuilt together, and while we may live in a time of division and loud disagreements, the spirit of unity is still within us. It shows up when neighbors bring meals after a loss, when communities rally around a sick child, when first responders drop everything to protect someone they've never met. The question for us today is, how do we keep that spirit alive when there isn't a national crisis? How do we serve? How do we love and support each other on every other day? That's what we strive for with this podcast and the foundation. By sharing stories of sacrifice, we remind ourselves of who we are at our best. We also know that days like today can reopen old wounds. For many first responders and veterans, 9/11 isn't just a memory, it's a trigger. The images, the sounds, the grief can come rushing back. If you're listening right now and you're struggling, please hear me. You are not alone. Reaching out for help is not a weakness, it is courage. Call a peer support line, talk to a friend, find a counselor. Healing happens in community, not in isolation. That's part of why we exist, to be a bridge to hope. Our foundation supports scholarships and mental health resources for first responders and their families, because the sacrifice doesn't end when the shift is over or when the uniform comes off. As we reflect on 9/11, we're also faced with heavy news today. Reports out of Utah confirm that conservative activist Charlie Kirk was shot at a campus event and has died. Details are still developing, but what we know is tragic. Another American life lost to violence. This is not about politics. This is about people. This is about the dangerous path we're on when disagreements turn to hatred and hatred turns to violence. On a day like today, we remember how fragile life is. We must recommit ourselves to rejecting political violence, to practicing stability, loving kindness, and care for one another. And to remember that behind every headline is a human being with a family who is now grieving. 9/11 had taught us that when life gets dark, we need each other. That lesson applies right now, today. And to the family of Charlie Kirk, our hearts and our prayers go out to you. We are definitely and greatly grieved by your loss. And to those of you who are behind this dastardly, detestable, disgusting, outrageous attack on an innocent man, you are a disgrace to our country. Whether it's just the one person or somebody orchestrated this. This was a planned attack. So whoever you are despicable. You are not American. You are not one of us. So what do we do with all of this? We remember that we honor, but most importantly, that we act. Maybe that looks like thanking a first responder in our community. Maybe it's checking in on a veteran you know. Maybe it's making a donation to a foundation that supports families of the fallen. Or maybe it's just as simple as calling your neighbor and saying, I was thinking about you today. The power of America has never been in Washington or on Wall Street. It's in the everyday people who choose kindness, generosity, and courage. The small acts matter. They add up, and together, they remind us that unity is still possible. So today, we honor the heroes of 9/11. We honor the families who carried that loss, and we honor the first responders, the veterans, and everyday people who continue to sacrifice so the rest of us can live in safety and freedom. As you go about your day, hold tight to that lesson. And we're stronger together. And if you struggle, reach out. You are not a burden, and you are not alone. Thank you for listening, for supporting the mission of 8158 Podcast and the William H. Bill Butler Foundation. To learn more or to donate or connect with us at 8158podcast.com. Their stories live on because we tell them together. Until next time, stay safe, stay united, and never forget. And as for a footnote, to the family of the young lady who was brutally attacked on the subway, our hearts and our prayers go out to you as well. This unsolicited attack upon her was also a very detestable and disgusting thing. This is not what America is about. It is time for change. It is time for people to stand up and to honor life. Life is precious. It is precious to me. It is precious to our families. It is precious to God. It is not for a man to take unjustly. An attack like this is a very disgusting and disgraceful thing. We are living in dark times, people. It is time for us to make a change. It is time for us to stand up as Americans, true Americans, real red-blooded Americans who love our country, who love our God, who love our freedom and our Constitution, to stand up. Wake up, people. Stand up against this hate, the tyranny, and the ugly things that people are doing. If you see something, say something. If you see somebody acting in a way that could harm somebody else, help the victim. Don't just stand by, run away, and hide. Find your courage, find the unity, stand up, be brave, and be wise. I do not apologize for my emotional outbursts. These times are very dark, and I am beside myself right now. I am angry. I am heartbroken. These things that are happening should never happen. With that being said, thank you for joining and listening to 8158 Podcast Stories of Sacrifice. God bless.